Man has always been fascinated by the stars. Looking to the heavens is like looking into the entire history of the universe. They have fascinated scientists, engineers, and visionaries throughout the ages as we endeavour to travel among them in search of life. They have helped to navigate ships through the night and acted as muse to the greatest poets, artists, musicians, and filmmakers. And now they have inspired the Irish Microbrand Sólás with his first watch, the Sólás Starlight. Hello folks and welcome back to Wonder of Watches. Now I am very excited to present this watch to you today. It's the brand new piece by Irish Microbrand Sólás. Now the man behind this brand is Diyu Wu, whose story is as interesting as the watch itself. Diyu was born in China but grew up in Ireland. He lives and works here and has become a naturalised Irish citizen. And we're certainly lucky to be able to claim him as our own. In fact, his Irish or Gaeilge is far better than mine, and I've just realised after recording the intro that the brand should be pronounced Solas. The fadas are accents in the Irish language, adding the emphasis to the vowel sounds. The word means solace, meaning comfort or consolation in a time of distress. The word I used is solace, which means light, and I guess it's more than appropriate too for this watch. Now, in 2003, Diyu also starred in an Irish language movie called You Ming is Anam Dum. It's a fantastic short story and has been played in schools throughout the country. In the film, Yu Ming decided to emigrate, so he spun a globe, as you do, closed his eyes and placed his finger on good old Ireland. Understanding our native language was Irish, or Gaeilge, he set about studying the language for 6 months.
An bhfuil tusa ag leabhar lumsa? An bhfuil tusa ag leabhar lumsa? An bhfuil tusa ag leabhar lumsa? Is mi seo an tain duine an seo? An bhfuil tusa ag leabhar lumsa?
However, after arriving here, he soon realised that in practice, we don't speak Irish on a day-to-day basis and mostly speak English. Frank Kelly, who played Father Jack in Father Ted, set him straight on that in a pub. In fact, it is fair to say that at one stage in Ireland, the language may have been under threat, but thankfully in recent years, it has undergone a major resurgence, and Diyu can certainly lay claim to playing his role in that.
Ó hásanna.
Níl a ríthe Gaeilge.
Níl ó rítar.
Ach ag gach fógra.
Wel, tá an teanga ón ach níl ó rítar í ach I gúpla ceann tornéring.
So, onto the watch then. Now, the idea behind the Sólás Starlight was to bring features that would ordinarily be associated with luxury Swiss watches to a watch that was easily accessible by everyone. To add some context here, this watch will initially be available for €329 for early birds and rising to a very affordable €399. The watch will be available from Diyu's Kickstarter campaign, which kicks off on the 15th of October 2020, that's this Thursday, at 3 p.m. Irish time or GMT +1. Now, firstly, we have the micro rotor movement, which is fully visible through the see-through sapphire caseback. And then we have the dial, which is made from that glorious aventurine material, a material considered to be a luxury material by some of the big boys, including A. Lange and Zon, Beauvais, and Omega, to name but a few. And what a dial it is. Ultimately, this is a sleek and svelte dress watch. So let's take a look at the dimensions and specs, and then we'll come back and take a deep dive into the two stars of the show, if you pardon the pun. That is that glorious movement, and of course, that stunning dial. Okay, so the case then. Finally, for a YouTuber, I've got my hands on one of these electric calipers, or electronic calipers. Let's see if I can use them now on camera. Might be easier said than done. Hold on. Here we go. Okay, so we've got a diameter of a very dressy 38mm. The watch has a height of 9.7, 9.8mm. It's got a lug width there. See now, I just need to take my eye off camera for a second. Of 20mm. It's 20mm. I just can't get it when I'm trying to do this through a camera lens. And then we've got a lug to lug there of about 44.4mm, 44.3, 44.4mm. Okay, we've got sapphire crystal on both the front and the back side of the watch. Now, the case was specifically designed for this watch. This is not a generic case, and I think it looks fantastic. Polished on all sides. It's got a domed bezel and inscriptions on the underside. And this is where we begin to see some of those Irish elements. The inscriptions are Os Gaeilge, or in Irish. Céad Éireann means first edition, and Crystal Sapphire, well, you don't need to be Irish to translate that. My favourite part of the case though is these lugs here. They're just fantastic. And the finishing is excellent. They feel very vintage in aesthetic, replicating lug designs that you might find on, say, a vintage Omega. But they also include a bevel here between the top side and the side of the lug. You can see it there on camera. And the attention to detail here is exceptional in this price category. The crown is signed. The crown is quite vintage in size, but winding and changing the time is solid as a rock. Now onto the movement. Here, Diyu has chosen the Hangzhou 5000A. It beats at 28,800 beats per hour, and this is not an insignificant fact, because due to that relatively high beat and the small seconds on the face, it leads to a seriously smooth sweep of that seconds hand. And you can see it barely skips a beat. It's as smooth as anything you see from, a high-end Rolex, or, to be honest, it even looks like a spring drive movement. It's so smooth. It looks fantastic. I love that offset sub-seconds. You can see that adventure every time I move the watch. You can see that aventurine dial. It's so dynamic. Looking at those pinholes of light or adventurescence just pinging with, and this is, all I'm using here is natural sunlight in through the patio door. I'm in the kitchen here, and you can see, just as they say, looking into a galaxy of stars, or even the deep field images from the Hubble telescope where you're seeing distant galaxies. Either way, it's just awesome. Now back to the movement. It's a non-hacking manual wind movement, and it's got 42 hours of power reserve. It really is something else. Now, the benefit of using a micro rotor is that it doesn't cover up the components of the movement, which are finished beautifully here. The movement uses gold coloured gears. We have Geneva striping on the various plates and a perlage finish there under the rotor itself. What really impresses me though is the micro rotor itself. It feels really substantial and weighty. It's made from tungsten, which has a similar density to gold. Again, it's beautifully finished with Geneva stripes and it bears the Solas logo. Now, Diyu's aim with this watch, let's give it a wipe there. Diyu's aim with this watch was to provide a micro rotor in an affordable watch. He has certainly achieved that. But if that wasn't enough, he has also included an aventurine dial, and for me, it is the absolute star of the show. The dial, so aventurine is based on glass and attached to a copper backplate. It contains metallic elements, small metallic elements that glistens with pinpoints of light. Now, Diyu took great care to ensure that the supplier of these amazing dials could produce the requisite quality and sought a number of prototypes to ensure this, and it really is incredible. The effect of aventurescence, or the pinpoints of light from the dial, increases depending on the strength of the light, and I recorded some videos to demonstrate how different lights interact with it. The first shows the dial in low light outside conditions just before sunrise. The second shows the dial opposite a low sun, and the aventurescence is clearly magnified. And finally, a video showing the watch opposite a full sun, and the dial goes from black to almost a midnight blue, and the aventurescence just pops wildly. Of course, indoors, the effect is much more subtle, but no less beautiful. Now, with all things beautiful, it comes at a cost. And the cost in this case is that Diyu had to order some 20% more dials than is required, as they are known to be quite fragile. And due to the fact that the manufacturers were creating some 20 holes in it, which I imagine accounts for the hand pinions and the indices, of course, the date window, it requires that 20% contingency, as some invariably crack during manufacturing. Another element of the dial that contributes to the dynamics are the beautifully finished indices, which, when they catch the sun, it looks like the sun is sizzling down their length to create a shooting star effect, or maybe a comet blazing across the sky. It really is like having a galaxy of stars on your wrist. The date window is subtle. It's covered up now because it just so happens to be 2:15. It's there if you need it, but it remains inconspicuous if not, and it doesn't disrupt the balance of the dial at all. The dial also bears the words Deartha in Éireann, designed in Ireland. Okay, onto the strap now. The leather strap on the Sólás, was crafted by Robin Marshall of Torres Leather in Ireland. It is a beautiful, supple Horween leather that really hugs the wrist. Unlike many leather straps, I found this one took no time to take on the shape of my wrist, and it's extremely comfortable. Again, there are details here. The blue stitching, and what the French refer to as a vanité, which is a subtle stamping. Can I get that to display there now? I just don't have quite enough light in here at the moment. There we go. We have a subtle stamping of the tongue of the strap with the Solas logo. Once the strap is on, that will be on the underside, so only the owner will know it's there, hence that term vanité. Now the clasp. Okay, so I found the clasp to be perfectly serviceable, and once the strap is in place, it feels very good. However, I did find that despite the care I took to insert the strap into the clasp, I did end up marking it slightly. You can see some marks on the edge, but that doesn't bother me. I mean, leather straps are supposed to be worn, and the more marks they have, the better they look, the more distressed they look. But Diyu has provided some instruction on how to insert the strap into the clasp, and it's really very easy. It just goes in on the top side, over the top, and then there are two holders. If you pinch the strap, and it goes in between the two holders, and then you find that pin there now, and there we go, and you're all set up. It really is as easy as that, and it is beautiful. Hugs the wrists perfectly. Now we've got Solas branding on the metal part of the clasp. Now, the 2 pusher deployant I do find sticks a little. It's not major, and I imagine it will loosen over time, but I just find it sticks a little bit. I should also point out that the marking of the strap is going to be a little bit more at the start when you're trying to find optimum size for the wrist. But once it's on, you barely know the clasp is there, and that leather is supremely comfortable, and the watch looks absolutely fantastic there. So to conclude then, what Diyu has achieved here is nothing short of remarkable. He started out with the aim of bringing a micro rotor to market in an affordable watch, and ended up also bringing an aventurine dial in the same watch. Many of the parts are sourced from China, but this watch is entirely Irish in its concept, design and execution. Diyu will even regulate the movement personally in Ireland once he has tested its accuracy before he ships it to you. The watch bears its inscription Oscuelga, and I'm very proud as an Irishman that there are Irish microbrands out there producing unique Irish pieces of this quality, and other brands that come to mind are Siderius watches based in Carlow and Devo watches based in Wicklow. In addition, I suspect that Diyu is making very little money, if anything, from the sale of this watch. Having listened to him in recent interviews, this is almost an altruistic endeavour to bring features to a watch that would ordinarily be out of reach for all but the most affluent of watch lovers. If you back him, the watch is almost ready to go. Diyu just needs to place the movements in the cases which are already made. You will be backing him to finish the product and not to originate it. I also suspect that this is only the beginning of the journey for Diyu and the Solas brand. Diyu has stated publicly that he wished to bring a minute repeater to an affordable watch. Now, that would be quite a feat, but for now, you will have to make do with a galaxy of stars on your wrist. Thanks very much. Good luck, everyone. Bang.